Coxie, well, a couple of days break for the boys, hopefully for yourself as well over the weekend. Was it nice to kind of kickstart the season with a win?
Yeah, it was, and we've been playing sort of Thursday night practice games all the way through for the last month, and training all weekend. So it was just a good chance on a 9-day break to give them Saturday, Sunday off and refresh and get ready for Monday and the massive challenge against the back-to-back premiers.
The win's obviously one that I imagine you've analysed, you've spoken to the boys about. What was it about the third quarter performance clearly was exceptional. Do you focus on that? Do you go, okay, how can we try and be a bit more consistent across the four quarters? What was the main kind of takeaway for you?
Yeah, I think first of all we wanted to touch on the first half and the difference between first and second half. And when we go away from our system and our roles that we were required to play, you allow teams to get into the game and start the way that they did. So we needed to address that. The players had a really good reflection on the weekend's game and are looking forward to making amends and certainly putting it into practice this week.
I know a lot of the focus was naturally on Errol helping turn the momentum, Isaac, a couple of goals, 13 touches in that third term, but Justin McInerney with his career best game. I know he's someone who, you said, the leader of this group, has really stepped up in sort of the past 12 months. To see him kind of help really kickstart that comeback, that must have been pleasing.
Yeah, it was, and I think, like I said after the game, we were beaten through the middle of the ground for the first half, or for parts of the first half, and one thing we wanted to try and do is to get our best players into some form, and to their credit, they responded really well. So obviously those names, but what we could do around the middle of the ground to gain ascendancy, and then we were potent when we went forward. So that's something that we've worked on. Will it always be like that? We'll know. But when we get our opportunity, we have to maximise those opportunities.
Do you feel that third quarter specifically is like a sneak peek into what the peak you guys could hit this season?
Oh, kicking 75 points in a quarter. I don't think you'll see that again. But having said that, I think what we were able to do throughout that quarter, and to play some of the brand of football that we want to do a bit more consistently. We understand that sides are going to stop it at times, but we've got to stick the course with the way we want to play, and we get a no greater test than this weekend, which we're looking forward to.
Clearly, there was a lot of attention on Charlie last week against his old team. Have you noticed that he's come back a little bit freer, or it's good to have that game out of the way? How's he kind of been coming into this second game?
Yeah, I think every player, when they play their first game, especially against their old club as well, heightens the week. And yeah, he's been really good. He come in refreshed from the weekend, but also ready to attack now what the rest of the season looks like. And we'll make sure that we manage him like we would any other player that's played as much footy as he has, and get as much training and cohesion with our forward line as much as we can. So yeah, he's exciting about this week and the different opportunity that presents itself.
Obviously, Brisbane at this stage hit with the 3 suspensions. I know that they're fighting a couple of them tonight as we speak, but do you plan for, even if they're without sort of Harris Andrews, Darcy Gunner, two of their better key defenders, that it's still going to be a pretty imposing task in terms of players they bring back in?
No, I think what they've shown throughout the last probably 4 years is that no matter who's in and out of that team, that they're as well drilled as any team and understand the way they need to play. They're not going to change that just for some personnel. We're going to prepare as if today we prepared as if they're playing. I think that's what you have to do, and then assess what happens after that. But yeah, whoever comes into that team, they're really strong with their system and the way that they go about things, and we've just got to try and nullify that as much as we possibly can.
Do you try and drill in any more about focusing on a faster start or a better start, or are you confident that, okay, this is a 4-quarter game, as long as we're finding that consistency at the end of the game, that things will take care of themselves?
Yeah, it's not something we've really spoken about. It's more about the process of how we can start or maintain momentum, whether we've got it or against it. How do we try and win that arm wrestle whenever we possibly can? And Brisbane at some stage, like every team they'll have momentum on the game. It's about trying to minimise the impact when they do have it, the time that they do have it for, and we need to make sure that we're aware of it, and our players are aware at some stage it's going to happen.
In terms of the flexibility of some of the players, I know there are examples of when Errol was taking the kick in and the lizard might have been further up the ground. Do you really enjoy that you've been able to push the players to have that flexibility position a bit more, that gives you options like that during the game to make things work?
Yeah, I think, one thing we want to try and do is we want to try and make sure our players are performing to the level they can week in, week out. But if we need to help that and the players want to help their teammates, that's a great trait to have. And, whether they've got to fight their way through it, whether they can go somewhere else, whether they can use a teammate to help them in that instance, we've spoken about all scenarios. So, yeah, it's just a way that we can try and get our best players into the game as often as possible.
The handball, sort of at the back of stoppage and trying to get that space in front of the stoppage and that space between the arcs almost. How important is that to the way you want to play? We saw whether it was Errol, Juzzy, guys like that, really trying to make the most of that space in that third quarter.
Yeah, I think part of it is we've made some adjustments to the way we want to play, and that will take a bit of time, and we won't be able to do it for a full 4 quarters. I mean, we'd love to, but we need to make sure that the players, wherever they are on the ground, they're playing their role to allow us to move the ball or to allow us to defend as well as we possibly can. And we had a good amount of front half turnovers between the arcs, which were really important. It's not just about the last part about our handball and what we do with the ball. It's about how do we try and get as many as we possibly can through those areas to help us when we do win the ball back.
I think you ended up having almost double the amount of tackles as Carlton. As much as the 12-goal third quarter pleases you, is that always more pleasing, the defensive pressure? Yeah,
it is. And I think that's something that the playing group really spoke about leading into the start of the season is, we've got to get back to putting enormous heat on the opposition. And Brisbane are a really high time in possession team. They control the ball really well. They've added, obviously, a lot of speed. There's not many areas of their game that they're not good at. And, we need to make sure that the intent is right from the outset.
Tommy Papley obviously was on reduced minutes last week. How did he pull up? Do you think we'll see him play a few more minutes sort of this week and kind of keep progressing?
Yeah, he was on, and it was part of the plan as soon as virtually we got back from Christmas, is how do we get him to the start line and what does the start line look like? And, for him it was about manage his minutes, bring him on. We want to make sure he's there when late if we do need it. And he won't be playing a full game again this week. I think it's hard to go just because you played one, you're straight back into a normal rotation. So, we'll manage that as well as we can to make sure that he can influence and impact as much as he can, whilst also understanding the demands of a long season as well.
Any other injury concerns over the weekend? And then also, how close are Harry Cunningham, Taylor Adams to be? I know Taylor played a bit of the VFL game to being fully available.
No, none in the AFL team. Mostly come through unscathed, which is good, and I think, those guys, Taylor Adams, Harry Cunningham will play this week, as well as Javan, and we've got some young kids that are coming back through the VFL program. So we have a practice game against the Giants on Saturday morning, which is really good, and those guys will be a part of that.
How's Braden Campbell going? What's the timeline, do you think?
Yeah, we're still not sure. We're still finding out as much information as we can. Just unfortunate it's not in the short term.
And how good was it just in general to see the likes of Errol, Callum Mills, who missed out a lot last year, just to be back on the pitch and such a good performance?
Yeah, I think that's what you wanted. Is the pleasing part was obviously spoken about Charlie. Logan hadn't played for over a year. Callum hadn't played a lot of footy. Tom Papley didn't play a lot of footy last year, obviously, and Errol. So, it's just great to see those guys that have had really good summers put it into the regular season, and excited to see what they can do going forward as well.
Just on Justin McInerney specifically, what's been the big thing over this summer to help him kind of step up and have a game like a year where it's 30 plus touches, 3 goals, to really impact the game like some of his teammates have been for a few years as well?
Yeah, I think he certainly over the summer, as soon as he came back, he was really keen to improve all aspects of his game, but his two-way run is as strong as you can get around the competition. So we need to make sure that not only he finished with goals this time, but he has a real appetite to get back and support defence as well first. So yeah, his attention to detail over the summer about improving that aspect of his game, making it a real strength, showed what he could do, and that came out Thursday night.